Without further ado, we are very happy to bring on somebody who I truly believe is a true firebrand, fire starter, if you will, for the labor movement.
Labor leader.
Well, as we say, the future of labor in the United States, or just the future of the progressive movement, if it's going to happen.
And I would also like to point out that I like the new look of it as compared to the old union look.
What do you mean?
I mean, I like the way that the new union guy looks compared to the old. I think of old union bosses. I think of like old white guys sitting up that are not taking care of their rank and file. I think of people like our friend Dan.
I think Chris, I think she's implying that you're kind of like this new wave of union look. And that's if that could be to your advantage, then that's obviously a good thing. So
that's exactly what I'm saying, is that we need a change in guard in everywhere. So just as much as we need it in electoral politics, we need it in union politics.
But just as we said the other day, that let New York be the first state that passes the New York Health Act, universal health care in the country. Let New York be the first state that allows unionization within Amazon.
Don't say allows. No one's allowing anything.
Well, no.
No one's allowing anything.
You got to take it by force,
Ask
right?
Chris. Allowing.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna do it. You know, we're going to speak it into existence, and I'm here to say that it's going to get done. You know. So
why don't we start with a little light discussion? Our producer John did an amazing job finding this article that I guess just came out today, that Amazon is now going to be putting these meditation booths inside the distribution centers. That's going to be the way to say, no, you don't actually need to make more money. You're just too stressed. So we're going to fix that for you. We're going to give you a little meditation booth, and you want to take a break for 10 minutes? There you go. You can go in there whenever you like. I mean, this is just getting
they probably have to clock out to go in.
It's getting to the point of absurdity now that it's funny, and not in a good way.
Yeah, it is funny to me. The funny thing is that they actually rolled this out way before the media got a hold of it. They did it while I was actually still employed. And it's like, you know, we'd be working at our station and a message pop up and it says 30 seconds of meditation to yourself while you're doing whatever process you're doing. And to be honest with you, I hated it. I hated it with a passion, because when I'm working, I'm in a rhythm, I'm in the flow. I don't want to be interrupted. I don't even want people talking to me. And that's the same kind of feedback I got from most of the coworkers I spoke to, my former coworkers as well. Like, they hated it. They hated the fact that they were being interrupted while they're in their rhythm and their pace. And, you know, for them somebody that's sitting behind the scenes on their tails at a computer, putting these metrics together, thinking that rolling something out like this will help warehouse workers. That's the things that I couldn't stand for when I worked for the company. You know, all the time they roll out these different programs and then say, hey, you guys, this is something new. Go ahead and do it. And I just say, well, why? You know, just why? I mean, what are we doing here? We're talking about working in a physical job for 10 hours a day. You know, it's not time for fun and games all the time. You know, people really have real issues that's going on here, like injuries, for example, that we should be addressing and where they're being staffed. So these type of things are just another, you know, just nothing for us. It's nothing for the workers. It's not beneficial for them.
Let's talk a little bit about what happened in Bessemer. And for people, you know, I can't imagine people on our thread don't know what happened in Bessemer, but obviously the attempt to unionize the Bessemer, Alabama center, Amazon center, did not happen. And we know, it's funny. It's because like I don't know the details, but I know whatever it is, it was not a fair vote. And so what I was hoping is that you could maybe fill in sort of the holes as to why that didn't happen, and talk a little bit about all the intimidation that Amazon was putting upon its workers to not unionize.
Right. So there's a lot of intangibles that come into place. And I know there's been a lot of people throwing out things and reporting things from the outside, looking in their own perspective and opinions. But I actually went down there for a few days and I met with the organizers. I met with several different workers from that facility. And there was a lot of things that played the factor into why it wasn't successful. Number one, that building is fairly new. You know, it's only been there for a year. So you're talking about workers trying to organize workers that are brand new. to each other? First off, how much worker influence do they really have in the facility that was just built? And you got workers rotating in and out, meaning being hired and fired. We know this is a revolving door. So how much influence do new hires really have on each other? Number one, they didn't have much.
Lack of camaraderie, like a lack of camaraderie. There was no sense of like loyalty to anybody there.
Right. They all just got hired, you know? So how much influence do, and you know, not to take away from, you know, Jennifer Bates and Dow Richardson, but at the same time, I know how it is to be a new hire at Amazon because I see them all the time. And they come in packs, but by the end of that first 6 months, it might be 3 or 4 of them left. And I mean packs, I'm talking about you get hired with a class of 35 to 50 people.
Right.
But by 6 months, you don't see the same people that you got hired with. You're seeing totally different new faces. So that's number one. Number two, they didn't work on building their workers committee at the same time. You know, they pretty much they did kind of rush the election, you know, to be honest. They didn't know how many people worked in the facility at first. They had to get more signatures. Amazon disputed it. We know the story, you know. So when I went down there, I tried to do a rally with this union. I reached out to them several times, several different ways. Didn't really get a response that I was, you know, kind of happy with. I was like, well, I'm in a lot of your articles. I think that I should do a rally with you guys to connect that story to the workers down there. And their response was like, you know, no, we'll have you come back, or, you know, we'll have you organize with the committee. And that never happened. And I'm not trying to say I'm the reason why they lost. I'm just trying to say the narrative, the campaign style of it being worker led, it kind of lost its way when they started inviting all these celebrities and politicians. Let me tell you something. Working at Amazon, we're not in tune with the labor movement the way people think we are. When we come home from work, we're not getting on Twitter. We're not jumping on the media. Half of the workers don't even know who these politicians are. They don't know Jamal Bowen. They don't know Cory Bush. They don't know Nina Turner. And the younger adults definitely don't know Danny Glover. No disrespect, but the 18, 20-year-old, you know, Danny Glover's of age. So that connection didn't resonate with the workers. My story, me bringing different workers from different parts of the country that work for Amazon, I thought that would be better if they rallied that way. They didn't want to do that. And that right there told me when I left Alabama that they had no chance. I knew before we all even talked about it. But I still was supportive of the campaign. And this is why, leading into our union efforts up here in Staten Island, this is why the workers decided to go the independent route, which I fully support. And I'm one of the lead organizers for, because it is home base for me. And we're going to keep this completely worker-led from the inside out. Amazon workers have to organize each other because they know the building, they know the machine, they know the ins and outs of the company. And the difference is with our campaign is our lead organizers are 5-year vets with Amazon. Some of them going on their 6th year. They have a lot of influence inside these facilities. They have a lot of experience. They've been doing this for years. They open up multiple buildings. So we have a different fight here in New York, and that's the way we're approaching it.
I think, no, it sounds smart. So you really are able to see the flaws in what happened in Alabama, and you see the distinction between what your situation is up in Staten Island. And you also have been there. It's a longer facility, has been there longer. So the people know each other and have been there, exactly. Like, you know, but what is your position now? I mean, I know you obviously lost your job with Amazon. And so have they ever, I mean, is there any recourse for you? Has there ever been any sort of like recourse for being fired from them wrongly?
Yeah, the recourse is I created a movement, you know, internationally now. And you know, I'm still fighting them legally. As you know, the trial might be coming up soon. I'm supposed to be being prepped for the state attorney's case, Letitia James. And so I still have my civil case still pending, class action lawsuit. None of these things are off the table yet. So, you know, Amazon's going to push back and delay everything, but it's still happening. But as far as the organizing, my role now is the lead organizer for ALU, or the Amazon Labor Union here in Staten Island. I'm out there every single day. I've been out there for the last little bit over a month now. I've been doing interviews out there at the tent, right at the tent.
Yeah.
And I want to see this through. One of the principles of Amazon is see it, own it, fix it. And last year I started that. I saw the problems. I owned up to it. I protested, walked out. And now I'm trying to fix it, trying to unionize and help others unionize their facilities as well. I
was just going to say something that I find really interesting is how there are unionized Amazon facilities in Europe. Right. And not all of the facilities in Europe are unionized, but it really goes to show you what a corporation can get away with in this country that other countries don't allow. There's countries in Europe that don't have a minimum wage. They don't need a minimum wage because their labor unions are so strong that they just all make a living wage. They're strong. And we can't get either. We can't get a living wage or unions. It's just sad. I mean, do you know, or have you heard anything about Amazon's unionization efforts in Europe? Like what, have any connection to the, yeah. I mean, and look, it is a very different climate because those people are used to a more social democracy anyway.
Sure.
But
since I've been fired, the overseas been standing in solidarity from day one. They've been putting out videos in solidarity, sending them to me. I talk to a lot of the workers from Germany all the time,
Yeah.
And it's amazing that they're so in tune of what we're doing over here, but they know everything that we're doing. They're supportive. I'm always on some certain platforms. I've been on Dean 25. I just actually a platform from Germany just picked me up last week. They're doing a documentary, a short film that's coming out. RTL, they've been covering it. So I know my efforts is definitely international, and they're definitely standing in solidarity. They'll go on strike if we wanted them to. They'll strike for us. So that's the beauty of the relationship that we have with Germany and overseas. They always watching and supportive. So they want to see us win. And
Europeans know how to riot. I mean, they know how to protest. They know how to bring it, and they do. I mean, and it's pretty. Yeah, the yellow vest, yes. But I mean, just in general, there's so much more organized labor, politically, everything.
Well, when you have a living wage, universal health care, and if necessary, a universal basic income.
Right, you have
an opportunity to actually do things that can actually make a direct impact on whether or not you have some freedom.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this all unfolds now that they're attempting to bring back some semblance of normalcy. But I think that over the course of this pandemic, I think a lot of workers learned their worth is much more than what they've been getting. And so I'm curious, they feel like they're only going to be able to hold it off for so long. And despite all the hiccups that did happen in Bessemer, I assume that there's a lot of things that were learned from that experience that you'll be able to be starting from a much higher point in Staten Island to make sure that whatever mistakes were made there are not made in Staten Island, and that you can set the precedence for the rest of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly right. We're trying not to fall into the same traps. We're being very strategic. If people been following my Twitter page, what I've been doing is trying to call out these issues real time, the union busting things that they're doing real time when it happens. And that's the beauty of it too. The fact that the workers feel comfortable enough to tell us what's going on inside the facility every single day. Whenever something happens, whatever it's a message, a text message, an email, signs in the bathroom, they're bringing it to us at the tent. They're like, hey, Chris, this is what happened today. Hey, look, did you see this? So we have a very good stronghold inside these facilities. And it's been working to our advantage. We got the big fish in trouble already. Brad Moss is one of the Unionbusters that was in Alabama. He was down there spreading his racist rhetoric because now I know this man is racist, and the way he divides the workers is he goes to the white people inside the building, and he pretty much shames the black organizers. He called us a bunch of thugs in New York already. And that was reported to one of the workers that he didn't know signed up for our union, and not only signed up, she's a part of our committee. So she filed the ULP against him,
Nice.
and they had to terminate his contract right away. I mean, he's no longer at any value to the company. So he's the big fish. He's the president of the actual firm that employs all these union busters. So yes, he's out the building. Hopefully, if he's not, he will be. And his minions are left, but his minions, we can deal with them. We know that they're beatable. We already looked up all their track records. They lost to preschools. They lost to hotels. These unions are not, they're not unbeatable. So we know that we can actually win here, no matter what they do, no matter what they throw at us, no matter who they hire. It's a different culture, a different energy here in New York. And once again, my lead organizers are inside the facility as current workers, which make it all even better.
Yeah. Let me ask you, like, what kind of stuff do they do? Does management do? Like, what kind of tactics do they use? What kind of intimidation do they use? I don't think people realize how real that is.
So these firms are these union busters. They get hired to come in and start coaching the management on different type of language to have with these with the workers, the different conversations, and they pretty much play the fence. We heard some of the conversations, and they play the fence. They make it seem like they're in a neutral position, and it doesn't work because the workers know the reason why they're talking to them to begin with. A lot of the things that we're doing when we're organizing, especially like the barbecues and addressing management head on.
Yeah,
they're not prepared for that. They haven't been for ever since Bessemer, especially the fact that we brought out a barbecue for the last 3 weeks now, a month, and now all of a sudden over what we did, they started bringing back vendors. They started doing barbecues. They got barbecues planned from here to Prime Day to July 4th now. So the workers notice these things because we're telling them like, hey, you're going to be able to get this coming up. And it's been happening right back to back. Before they even sent out the text messages, the first thing I did on the first week was I warned the workers. I said, now that we're here, I said, expect text messages, expect the signs in the bathroom. So they already knew what to expect. And it's backfiring now. We have that reverse effect because they know the reason why these things are happening is because we're there. The raises, the bonuses, the barbecues they're offering now, they know it's because the union is there.
It's funny. We, as I'm sure you caught today, the opportunity to either remove the filibuster and to at least a reconciliation on a couple of these major legislative pieces, especially the PRO Act, which is the biggest one. They're trying to pull the excuse of, well, it's the parliamentarian again. The establishment is really, really bad at this. They've just never needed to really do this before.
They're going to get the parliamentarian assassinated.
That somebody's going to be.
I mean, they're going. Well, that's what I mean. I mean, they're going to. Yeah.
At this point, it just kind of seems to me that the collective organizing is really growing, and I'm curious from a New York perspective because I do believe that New York really is ground zero. I know
way more than Alabama would be.
Well, more so than I think any other place. And the thing that I think, Chris, you could speak to better than even we can, certainly because you live there. Obviously we have our issues with AOC, but the fact that she was able to win, I think has started a ripple effect of a progressive movement in New York, particularly New York City, that is now starting to really get its legs in terms of its confidence, in terms of its organizing capabilities. I think that really has an impact, especially now that the New York Health Act is gaining momentum. And I would imagine that if the Staten Island distribution center for Amazon was able to unionize, that would have far-reaching effects, not just in New York, but throughout the country.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm already getting calls from other states. They're ready. The Amazon workers are ready to unionize. I know that for a fact. I've been talking to several different facilities already. And I'm hoping that if we are successful, which I know we will be, that we will spread like wildfire. That's exactly what we need. We need to continue applying this pressure, continue holding our elected officials accountable. And I'm definitely going to do that. I'm calling for Joe Biden. If he does, says some whatever endorsement he does with New York when we get to that point, I want to make sure that he knows that we want the PRO Act to be passed. If not, we need an executive order. That's something he can do right now.
Yeah.
No, there's nothing stopping him from that. I don't care if it's a filibuster or not. He can he can put in an executive order to help us organize against these companies. Don't allow them to do the union busting things that they're doing and getting away with. A company shouldn't be able to hire these $1 million law firms and have these folks walk around facilities and pretty much destroy unions. If you're a union man and a union president and you want to be the most, unionized country or at least a part of the movement of the uprising, then you need to put your money where your mouth is and help the workers out. And hopefully when we get to that point, when we have that opportunity to talk to politicians and get them involved with our movement, we're going to absolutely tell them enough with the lip service. It's time to put the pen down on the paper and write these bills up to help these workers out.
Yeah, I agree. Although I will say this, as soon as you guys have all of your unions up and running and you decide that you're going to go on your general strike, I will be there with my yellow vest. I'm getting a yellow vest. No, I'm very excited about this. One of our viewers is sending me a yellow vest.
Is it going to look as cool as Chris's getup right now?
No, probably nothing I wear ever is going to look as cool as Chris's getup. But I'm just like, I am waiting for you guys to start the general strike that will end up shutting not just Amazon, but the other companies as well. I mean, that's the thing here. Is that if Amazon basically gets unionized, that's going to be a major domino effect to so many other companies.
I agree 1,000%.
So that's really I think it's very key.
Chris, we just sent a direct message on Twitter if you want to retweet this so we can get this out to as many people as we can right now. I think it's very important that everyone understands what is going on in Staten Island. I'm not sure a lot of people are fully aware. A lot of people probably just assume that, Bessemer, they attempted to unionize. It didn't work, back to the drawing board. No, you're actually doing it the right way, which is, okay, it didn't work in Bessemer. Now we're going to try it in Staten Island. We are not waiting. We are literally going to be up your ass. You are not going to be able to get away with this anymore. And that's the thing about collective organizing. See, I've been saying to Jen, and I've been really trying to hammer this away, when it comes to the growth of this movement, it's all about it being non-corporate and nonpartisan, and it's about labor.
It's a labor movement.
And when it comes to the distinction of, are you progressive? Are you conservative? Are you moderate? That doesn't matter. It only matters if you're corporate or non-corporate. That's it. If you are on the side of non-corporate, then you're on the side of workers, and we all have to be working together. And I think that is something that you are doing exceptionally well. Is there anybody else that we should know about that is attempting to do the same as you are in either other parts of New York or other parts of the country?
Yeah, just to piggyback on what you said, we waited. I talked to my team, and right after Bessemer results came out, we waited, and we said, you know what? It's time to go now. We had the option of waiting a little bit longer or not, but I say, no, it's time to strike while the iron is hot and everybody's talking about it. Everybody, emotion was high. Everybody was upset. A lot of things coming out in the media. So we say, you know what, let's continue that wave and let's continue to ride that wave up here in New York. And let's take it at Amazon right now. And that's exactly what we're doing. And as far as, what I'll give you right now, I don't want to put too much out there yet because
I feel you.
All right.
But look for surrounding areas to start calling out their unions as well. I've been in talks with a lot of workers in the surrounding areas. I worked at people got to remember, I worked at 3 different facilities for Amazon. I opened up, not just worked, I opened them up. I launched them. I trained thousands of their workers. A lot of them are management now. A lot of them are still employed, and I still have great relationships with them the entire time, even after I was fired. And I've been meeting with a lot of them. Just put it like that. I've been meeting with a lot of my former coworkers and my friends. I consider them my friends. And they are ready to go. Just put it like that. They are ready. And hopefully in the next couple of weeks, you'll hear some things about different facilities outside of New York that will be announcing their efforts to unionize as well.
Chris, we have to talk about a very unfortunate issue. It's obvious that it has to be addressed. I don't know the full details of what happened with Dianne Morales' campaign, but obviously there was word that a handful of members of her staff were attempting to unionize, and she decided to bring the hammer down, and now it's essentially cost her her campaign.
So
If you can speak more to that, again, we're very fortunate that we do have a very good relationship, with Andrew Yang's team. And, unfortunately, he's not pro-union, but I think a lot of his supporters are. We have to do whatever we can. I do think Eric Adams would be the worst possible outcome in terms of the next mayor. But I am curious as to, from just your perspective, what really went wrong with Dianne's campaign?
Well,
and
first,
why
is
just
this something
completely
you're
shot down?
familiar with, Chris?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. I was one of Dianne's first endorsements, early on endorsements, and I still stand with her 100%. When it happened, she texted me. She texted me and said, straightforward, that she is not a union buster and she's not any of the things that people are making her up to be in the media or on social media. And I respect the fact that she took the time to even do that. I know how stressful it is to be in a leadership position and things fall apart. And that's the problem with the left, to me.
Eat their own.
Put it like this. There's several things I would address when it comes to this situation. I've been in the organizing world for a short period of time. I still consider myself a rookie, but it didn't take me that long to learn that the organizing world is ugly. No matter what movement you're in, it is very ugly. And we throw the word solidarity out there all the time. We throw the word accountability out there all the time. But we also got to hold ourselves accountable to what is real solidarity on the left. And I don't have an issue with her staffers trying to unionize. And I don't think she does either. She supports them trying to do it. The firing, that's a whole nother conversation. Whatever reasons why she fired the staffers, we got to get from her. But from my opinion, the way things were handled were totally wrong. That's just the bottom line. They should have never handled it the way they did. Going publicly, going on Twitter, the protest to the campaign office. This is certain things that we shouldn't do, and I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, but it could have been handled internally. It could have waited until the primary, 20, 30 days before the primaries. And now the staffers are getting front page on the New York Times. Now we're talking about the staffers more than we're talking about the candidate. And it doesn't make sense to me. I'll be honest, from my own personal experience with Dianne Morales, last year throughout the pandemic, she stood on the front lines for multiple movements, not just Amazon workers, undocumented workers, every different demographic. She was on the front line. I didn't hear that from or see that from any other candidate. I didn't see them out there in the streets. I didn't see them out there protesting. I didn't see them at rallies. That's the only thing that really separates her from the rest, to me personally, that I didn't hesitate to endorse her. I knew who I seen last year that supported workers in time of need, and not just workers, everybody in the time of need. And that was Dianne Morales. And we can't just forget about that and throw that all away, because there's been some discrepancies inside her campaign. I hope that they're able to work it out. But, from my perspective, the things were handled totally wrong. We got to stop running to Twitter, doing things like that, because that just destroys not just her campaign, but other movements as well. There's been several movements over the course of this year that have been taken down just like that.
Yep.
There's a few different, people have disagreements and different values and morals. And then they go to Twitter, they go to social media, and then everything falls apart. And it's not right. It's not right to the leader. It's not right to her. And I think that it should have been handled differently. And that's just my take on it. Other than that, I hope that she still is able to climb out of there and become the mayor of New York City, because I can tell you now, the rest of them forget about it. And that's how I feel,
I mean, my only thought now, and this is just from being in this sort of disgusting swamp that I've been swimming in for the past 2.5 years, is that now thinking about it, this almost sounds like it was done to her. This almost sounds to me like she was somehow set up. Either there was somebody who infiltrated her campaign. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. This was something that was done to her. And that's unfortunate. And I wish that there was a way to, kind of follow the money chain and figure out how that happened. But this is seemingly more and more sinister to me, actually.
Well, yeah, some of the staffers are now working for some of the other candidates now, and it's like
listen, I think
that's sabotage. She was sabotaged.
I don't like to have to just put names out there, but if anybody thinks that Maya Wiley is progressive, I don't know what you're looking at or what you think you're, paying attention to. It's not true. And she's actually she's the candidate that scooped, I guess, at least one, if not multiple staff members.
Because what I'm curious about is of the other candidates.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be a candidate. It could be whoever their corporate backer is, whichever candidate's corporate backer.
Correct.
Whoever it is that feels that they are next in line is probably the person who sets out to gain from sabotaging Dianne Morales.
Chris, I think you bring up a very good point, and this is something we were discussing the other day. The problem with a lot of grassroots campaigns, especially on the progressive left, is that there's a difference between being in a leadership position and being in an activist position. And a lot of times, if you are an activist, but you're not actually an organizer or a political leader per se, you end up in a situation where if you are unhappy with a circumstance, you allow it to boil over. You allow it to become a trending topic on social media because you must air your dirty laundry because it's a need for affirmation. There's these situations where it isn't handled in-house the way that it should be. And not that activists aren't important. They're extremely important. But knowing those differences in a campaign to run it effectively, I think is what really makes a huge difference. Not everybody is capable of leading a unionized effort against Amazon. There are a lot of people, I have no doubt, that are part of your coalition that are phenomenal activists, but they would not be able to handle the responsibilities, the pressures, and the pitfalls that come with being in a position of authority. And I think that of all the mistakes that Dianne probably made with her campaign,
she trusted the wrong person.
She probably trusted the wrong person. And
that's what it will always come down to when people are legit.
Yeah, and listen, hopefully, from my perspective, it is a learning experience because I still think that she's got a very dynamic personality.
I like her very much,
and I do think that in the future,
he wants her to run for Congress anyway.
I want her to run against Jeffries. I think that somebody's got to take on Akeem. And I think with her ability to build her name recognition, depending on how she ultimately comes out of this, I do think that is a great next step. And listen, a lot of times
he was trying to encourage her to do that when she was on the show.
I was saying that after the fact, if in fact she didn't win. I was suggesting
if you don't win, you'd be really great.
Well, it's not easy. Well, listen, the first time you run for anything, you running for Congress the first time attempting to unionize in Bessemer, a lot of times that first try, you do get knocked down. But the question is, how do you get back up? And getting back up is the key, because a lot of people don't get back up. But I do think we've taken our lumps as a organizing movement of working class people, that we've taken enough lumps where we now know the score. We know what's coming. And now we just have to be better prepared for it. And I think that that's the learning experience here. How do you feel?
Exactly right. If you can find somebody on this plan that you agree 100% with, please let me know. We got to understand as well. There's nobody on this planet, not even your own parents, that you're going to agree 100% with on issues, on different issues, on any issue. And like you pointed out, when activists and leadership have disagreements, and within their respective organizations, it shouldn't be a public argument. It shouldn't be a public statement.
Right.
It's just like a marriage. You don't want everybody throwing their opinions into your marriage, because now you're sitting there thinking about, wow, and it can destroy your marriage. It happens. The same thing when it comes to organizing. I have my own internal woes. The same people that I started out with are not. Some people are not here. A year later,
What?
These things happen. These things happen on the left, and these things happen within these campaigns all the time. It doesn't have to become public, is what I'm saying. The way it was handled, the social media thing, now they're dragging her on the social media. It's just unprofessional to me.
Which is why, and by the way, it's completely counterproductive to any sort of progress. But which is why I think it's so intentional.
And I feel terrible for her because you watched the debate last night, I assume.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, she was so out of her element, and she looked so nervous. And she was I was telling Jen, she was all the way at the far end of the stage, and she probably thought that she was off the base of the camera line. And as it turns out, she wasn't. And there were many times where they caught her like shaking and stuff. And I'm like, God, she's
really been thrown.
Yeah,
she's
she
really been thrown. They've really sabotaged her.
Yeah, and it sucks. And it really does. And again, just the whole field, Chris. From Scott Stringer evoking Tara Reid as a reason to suggest that oh my God. At that moment, I'm like, dude, drop the hell out of the race.
He was justifying sexual harassment by saying, well, Biden did it, so it's okay.
That is exactly what he did.
Oh my God.
And I'm just thinking, well, you know what? He comes off in such a, that's like, so gross. He's a small little man, and I hate saying that, but he's just one of those
Napoleon complex.
He's got 100%. I don't know what Donovan is doing, what exactly he's running for, and don't even get me started with McGuire. The guy looks like
like I know these people,
Chris knows who I'm talking about.
Because he lives in New York.
McGuire might as well be running to be the head of a hedge fund, as far as I'm concerned. I think that the race ultimately at this point does come down to Yang and Adams, and where it ultimately breaks, I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are one which way, but I'm hopeful that there's always this dependency of sorts that the elected official is what drives where things ultimately end up going. I don't agree with that. I actually think that the grassroots, the people in the streets, the working community, no matter who is in elected office, with the exception of maybe somebody like Andrew Cuomo, most of the time, the elected officials are going to respond to where the people are going. And I think regardless of who ultimately ends up becoming mayor of New York City, the movement for workers' rights, for healthcare, things of that nature, that is only going to grow bigger and bigger. That cat's not getting put back in the bag. Do you think that regardless of who wins the mayoral race in a few weeks, that there's nothing that's going to stop this from continuing its ascent? It would obviously help significantly if a non-corporate progressive would be able to win the race, but nevertheless, that I do think is something that is going to be a result regardless of who ends up winning.
Right. It is definitely. That's why most of them are saying the same thing. Their responses is, if we're talking to mental health, everybody was addressing mental health. I believe there's nothing that's going to stop us from organizing. I can tell you that I'm not stopping. And the different things that the organizations in New York are involved with, they're not stopping. If anything, they're going even harder now because we're still dealing with this crisis. And, I don't know. It's going to be a tough decision. I'm trying to think of, even if it isn't Diane, who I hope it should be, would be, I don't know who else I would choose. And I don't know how they will affect. I know it will slow down the progress. If it is the wrong person, they're more corporate than non-corporate. So we just got to make sure that as organizers, as activists, that we continue doing the work that we're doing now. No matter who's in office. Bill de Blasio didn't stop me from continuing the fight against Amazon. The next mayor shouldn't stop anybody from continuing their fight and whatever they're involved with.
Couldn't have said it better. I want to talk about the importance of independent media. Jordan Chariton, we've discussed before, he's a good friend and somebody who goes above and beyond trying to shine a light on these very important issues. I hope that there are other people in independent media that are covering this, or at least acknowledging that this is going on. This should be one of the most important stories going on in the country, quite frankly, right now, because as I have suggested, one of the things that we're looking to do is, as I'm sure you're aware, there is the Medicare for All March, which is taking place on July 24th. We are looking to do a Medicare for All telethon 2 days prior to that. I really do think that the New York Health Act is the thing that the healthcare movement in this country really should hone in on, because I do think that there's an opening here. Just like I think there's an opening that if you are to unionize at the distribution center in Staten Island, this is how you create the ripple effect, because it just takes one. I really believe that. It just takes one. Someone's got to see that Amazon can unionize. Someone's got to see that healthcare is an actual right. And then away we go. And I think it'll be a snowball effect. I really do. So what are your thoughts on, when it comes to these primary focusing issues, have you found that the independent media circuit is coming around to focusing on your story, because it, again, as I said, if one is able to break through, it's going to go everywhere.
Right. Yeah. New York is the what? Is it the global market of the world? Right. So, if it happens here, it should be able to happen everywhere. And that's what our hopes are, especially here in New York, in Staten Island. If we can unionize Amazon here, which is one of the biggest distribution warehouses, absolutely in Alabama and Texas and Florida and California, all over the country, should be able to do the same thing. This is the highest paid market, the highest paid facility. So they can't use that against us, saying, "Oh, we raised the minimum wage to $15." The workers here in New York get paid $19.50 at entry level. So they're already being paid above the minimum wage, but that's still not enough. It's still not a decent living wage. And when you're living in the tri-state area, we all know that the cost of living doesn't even compare. And we're still living check to check. I was capped out at $25 working for Amazon, the richest company in the world. Doesn't make any sense. When their revenue continue to grow, when Jeff Bezos continue to get richer and richer, and we're at the bottom, and they're taking away our hazard pay. They took away our bonuses. They took away our stockholders. We used to be shareholders when we got hired. They took that away as well. These are the things that a union can bring back. Bring back our monthly bonuses. Bring back our shareholders. Bring back create a better system when it comes to the time off tasks that workers get fired for. Provide a real child care. Amazon's 24/7. You got people working on a night shift. It's hard to find childcare at that time. So we have to come up with solutions, and I think unionizing will be the way to do it. And once again, that ripple effect will happen once we get the job done here in New York.
So let me ask you this. How can we help? How can we help? Like, what can people do other than, obviously, we provide platform, we try to educate, we do that, but
could try to get as many people from New York and Jersey to head over to Staten Island.
Well, I'm serious. Like, what would help? Like, what would help? I mean, what can people who are watching, listening, what can people do to help support your unionization effort?
Absolutely. The number one thing right now is this is worker-led, completely grassroots. It's not an established union with millions of dollars. We don't have the money and the revenue to match Amazon, obviously. Compared to the RWDSU, they also had a nice pot to go into. Yeah, we don't have that. Everything is coming out of literally our pockets and our GoFundMe. So please, if you want to get involved and you can't come to the ground, please donate. Donate to the GoFundMe.
Where is that? What is that?
It's GoFundMe. It's GoFundMe.com / what is this? What is it?
It's Amazon Labor Union. And every dollar, every penny goes towards the barbecues that we throw for these workers. We feed over 200 workers every week.
The best way to get somebody behind you is to feed them. Make sure they're full, man. You know what's at. I lived in the Bronx for 2 years. The barbecue is where it's out, man. You got to just make sure people are well fed. You do that,
guys. You know what? Anybody, if you can chip in a little bit and help, and something else that's really important that we have to talk about when we talk about supporting unions is it's all fun and games until eventually everybody wants to go on strike, and then there needs to be a support network for those people to afford to be able to do that. We need to build strong enough coalitions so that our labor brothers and sisters can strike and be able to afford to live and do that. And the only way we can do that is to build up support systems for unions so that they can afford to do that. So I sort of look, you're pre-unionized, so we're not at that point yet, but I just think it's important for people to understand that even when you strike and even when you do things, that it's still important to support.
Absolutely. And we want to have that threat. You know, one thing about unionizing, once we get to that point where there is a stronghold in the facility, whether we use it or not, we want to have that leverage to say, hey, if you guys don't do whatever we're asking for, then we will go on strike. And it hasn't been done at Amazon, at least here in America. And this is an opportunity for us to do this and support these workers as they build their union. And it's been a wonderful experience. I know it's some people call it a pipeline dream, because, you know, we're independent and we partner up with an established union. But let me tell y'all, you know, now, you know, we wanted to do that. We wanted to think, you know, partner up with a bigger union, and we had opportunities to do that. But Amazon will use that against us the way they did the RWDSU. They'll attack the budget. They'll attack the president making over 300,000. They use the language in these text messages to divide the workers, make it seem like these union dues are going to be distributed to people that's going to just live a luxurious life. The difference here in this fight, the reason why we're asking for donations through GoFundMe, they can't use any of that anymore. This is worker-led, right, and the union dues are going back into the workers' hands. So this is nothing. This is a better way for us to fight the power, and hopefully if we get enough support, we'll be successful.
Chris, one of the problems with unions, and this is probably the number one issue that I hear from most people, is they do not have a problem with rank and file members. They have a problem with delegates and especially bosses. Down here in South Florida, particularly in Broward County, the biggest impediment that we found when Jen ran for Congress against Wasserman Schultz was a man named Dan Reynolds, who's the head of the Broward County AFL-CIO.
He's a problem.
Now, the rank and file wanted to screen her for an endorsement, but he put the kibosh on that.
He didn't even allow a screening.
Now, I don't know if this is a big problem when it comes to leadership in certain circles, when it comes to actually getting things through. What is your philosophy in terms of, let's say, being a union leader? Because one of the things that I like to refer to when it comes to what is considered good union leadership versus not good union leadership was the 2016 primary between Bernie and Hillary. Anytime a union permitted the rank and file to screen a candidate and vote, they endorsed Bernie. Anytime it was the board or delegates that made the decision, it was always Hillary. So I think it's very distinct in terms of where the issues lie. So kind of like a co-op situation.
Well, it's what happens when anything gets really big. But I think that, you know, we all aspire to keep it grassroots and to keep it worker-led and to keep it worker-owned. But what happens is those people end up working their way up some sort of almost union corporate ladder and get co-opted by the same things that co-op people at the top of any organization. And it's a constant battle, which I'm sure you have now witnessed.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. You know, certain union presidents their leadership, obviously, they don't really care.
Oh, you can just say, you could just say Randy Weingarten. That's perfectly fine. You can absolutely say her.
You know, I don't want to call out, you know, but we know who they are. And, it's obvious, you know, it's obvious that that is an issue. And that's the reason why it makes our union efforts even harder, because there is a bad taste with certain unions and their leadership. And even with the MTA drivers, the bus drivers here in New York, some of the bus drivers, well, most of the bus drivers have been completely supportive, 100% of our efforts. And there's some that talk shit about their own union president, and they tell us like, hey, yeah, I love the union that does this for me, but the president or the leader, he's this, he's that. And you know, that's the problem. We got to make sure that even within our union that they're making sure that they put in office or at the top a leader that is going to remain at the grassroots. I guess ideology and make sure that they don't forget about where they came from. That's one thing about me as a supervisor at Amazon. I never forgot where I came from. I was hired as an entry-level worker doing what they're doing now, making only $12.75 back in 2015. And when I got promoted to a supervisor, I didn't forget where I came from. That's why when I applied to be a manager 49 times, I was denied every last one of them because their feedback was that Chris is going to side too much with the entry-level workers over management. And they're absolutely right. I would never sell out. I would never change who I am as a person just because I want to make my own personal career growth. If it took that to become a manager, forget about it. And you see that in my activism that I'm doing now. I'm the same person who I was 2 years ago, a year ago at Amazon. This is carrying over to my organizing and my activism. So as a leader, I would never forget about where I came from. I got to stay grassroots all the time. And as an example, you see that's the type of action we're doing with the Amazon Labor Union in Staten Island.
Chris, apparently the website that I put in was not correct. It is the Amazon Labor Union Solidarity Fund. Is that correct?
Yes. Let me double check. I don't have my phone with me. I'm sorry.
Sure. No worries.
Grab that.
And thank you. And now I have to just shout out to my mom for, of course, being the first person to attempt to donate money and tell me that we have the incorrect site because my mom's watching. And I want to tell M3G4FR34K that swearing is violence is our old friend Declan, and he's a troll, but he's a friendly troll. So just let him be. He's just having fun. He's just having fun. He doesn't. Where swearing is violence is just He's our troll. No, well, yeah, well, again, he's a troll, but he's our troll. Well, that that's like Joe Krebs. I don't know, you want to do his voice. Don't do Krebs.
You are correct. It's Amazon Labor Union Solidarity Fund. I didn't know that they had it.
No, that's okay because my mom came on the chat to point out that she went to go send money and it wasn't correct.
Yeah, shout out to mom. To be honest, my mom is on every one of my organizing calls. So
really?
Oh yeah. She's been involved with the organizing from day one. And for those who don't know, my mom's the same way. She's probably on my Twitter right now, watching and supporting. So
I have a very feeling that your mom and I are probably very close in age, which is just like I'm thinking about it and like, okay, but his mom's probably not as old as my mom.
Let's see if this works.
No offense to my mama.
You have your phone now, Chris?
It's on. Well, you want me to grab it? What do you need?
I just wanted you to retweet the link so we can get this out to as many.
Let me do that. Yeah.
All right. So it looks like it's gofund.me.
But you guys, it's so important for us to support labor.
See, I wish this wasn't so complicated.
Everything is complicated.
So I'm going to need somebody to check this.
My mom will do it.
Yeah, mom will check. Okay. Not old. Yeah, that's true. Okay.
You're not old. You're just a little older.
Okay. So somebody please check this if this is actually correct. I think it is. At least it looks like it is. And then we'll know for sure.
And then we'll know. But guys, it is so important to support labor because if they don't have a safety net, then they can't take a stand. The only way that you can take a stand, and this goes for anything, whether it's coal miners or teachers or whoever, they can't take a stand. And by the way, this is why it's important, why I think we need to have a general strike. I think that when there are so many unions that are they're focused on their own thing. I get it, but like labor is labor. And I think that if one group walks out, everybody needs to stand up and walk out. I mean, I just think we've gotten to that point now where we're like, nobody's really doing when it comes to labor that much better than anyone else, that they should feel that they're on some higher ground. I think that it's sort of like it affects all of us.
I'm speaking with Chris Smalls, lead organizer for the Amazon workers at the distribution center in Staten Island, New York. He obviously is one of the true fire starters of this labor movement. He's definitely made Jeff Bezos a little
I mean, so what do you this is just me and my kind of crazy conspiracy mindset that I sometimes have, but like you must be somewhat concerned for your safety.
Oh hell no. I'm concerned for my safety. We gotta understand, it's funny. It's funny that people say that because when everything happened to me last year, they was like, oh my God, are you scared the billionaires can make people disappear and all this stuff? I watch a lot of movies too, but first of all, you know, not for nothing, you know, I'm a black man growing up in America. Every day I walk out the house, there's a target on my back. And that's how I look at life in general, number one. And number two, where I live in Newark, New Jersey, I don't think they want to have too many people trailing me, especially the fact, and I'll tell you, it has happened. You know, he has had or at least Amazon or somebody.
Yeah.
They had people follow me.
That's what I'm saying.
I definitely seen, you know, some suburban one time or another time following me or, you know, trailing me. When we did a rally in Staten Island the last time, you know, people, my film production team that was there, they told me that when we left, a black SUV followed right after us. So they do have their PR, their private investigators and things like that. But I'm not scared of any of that. Trust me. You know,
you realize they probably have your phone bugged. Like, I mean, you're definitely like, you know that, right?
Yeah,
I know they're watching my social media. I know they are watching us right now. They watch the interview. I know that. Hey, you know, it's nothing that's going to stop us from organizing. Nothing's going to stop me from doing what I'm doing. Yeah. And I think they know that too. And I'm glad that they do. It's like, you know, it's nothing to be afraid of. And that's the problem also that we have when it comes to organizing. People are just afraid because of all the things they hear. And they hear these things for years and years and years. It's like, oh, if you do this will happen. You know, we're in a different time now. You know, we got to fight back and, you know, so be it. If I'm that sacrificial lamb, I got to do what I got to do. You know, this has to happen.
It does happen.
And I hate for it to have to be that way. Because again, you know, you're from the brick city, you know, you may have kicked it in Irvington and places like that. It's like, once you know what it's like to fight for survival, guys like this don't even faze you. It's the people that haven't lived hard, that haven't experienced it. You know, it was just completely
me. Sorry.
But I would say that, you know,
afraid of Jeff Bezos.
Yeah,
no. I'm not. Look, I mean, I have no problem saying that, like, something like Nancy Pelosi sucks ass on my live stream. So, like, I am one who doesn't really think about that either. But I've also had it brought to my attention that maybe that's not the smartest move.
Well, you know, it's funny, and I don't want to get into the weeds of whether or not the elected officials on Capitol Hill are doing right by the people. AOC is not the fighter in any way, shape, or form that Cori Bush is. They are cut from two completely different cloths. Cori is really from the street. She really understands what it means to fight for survival, and she's got zero F's to give on Capitol Hill. We were even joking the other day, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene likes to act like she's a hard ass by going after AOC. I would love to see her try to pull that with Cori.
That wouldn't happen.
Cori would literally drag her ass outside the Capitol and pound her into the pavement.
I would almost offer a substantial amount of money to see that. Like, first
bad.
of all, and let me preface this with, I have been saying for a very long time that I really do find Marjorie Taylor Greene is somebody who is in really a serious need of an ass kicking. I just do. She is someone that needed to get one. No, but just something about her. She reminds me of, like, when we were kids and just a girl that just needed to get put in her place and never did. I cannot explain why. Susie says it worked. So the GoFundMe works. Susie said so. Thank you, Susie.
And you guys are close to your goal, which is great, but that doesn't mean that you don't go above it, because let's face it, if you're going to have a cookout, you know, you could always have a little bit of extra pizza. You could always have a little bit of whatever you want.
I don't know, but I want to come.
Beans,
I want to come to the Amazon barbecue.
Anytime. Yeah. You know, we're about to start planning rallies, and we got some creative things that we want to roll out, especially this month. For Juneteenth, we'll probably do something. We're going to have a visual. We're going to have a lot of things coming up this month. So the goal was set that originally, but it's obviously going to be higher. We're going to raise it up and hopefully get some more donations coming in as we continue to grow this movement and get on different platforms. And that's why I say shout out to all the independent media that's been covering us. You guys really are helping us out when it comes to these donations. Every time we obviously get on, we get these donations in, and we're able to do the things that we're doing. So every little bit of it counts, and everybody that's involved, y'all helping the movement. This is how.
Yeah. That's how I feel too. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing this. I mean, it's been a while since we've had a good union person on the show because
listen. She doesn't want to believe it, but
we're having some trouble.
There is an amazing union organizer down here in South Florida. He's called effing Fred Frost. I'm not going to use the bad word, but this is a guy who was the lead organizer for the CWA here in South Florida. He definitely has the ire of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and to the point where he was able to connect us with the second in command of the South Florida AFL-CIO, which is Miami-Dade. Quincones, Victor Quincones,
Richard Quincoces.
Quincoces. He came on. We had a fantastic discussion,
and then we got in trouble.
We got basically that's when
overnight.
That's when Dan Reynolds basically told everybody stay the hell away from us because
overnight we got ghosted.
We have been ghosted.
We
by
can't
union
get local
leadership.
labor people to come on the show.
That's how serious it is. And what makes Florida.
We're trying to help, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, that just goes to show you how, like, the union bosses are completely not working in towards the best progress of their people.
The reason why it's so much more difficult in Florida, and especially down here, you got a couple of factors that you have to consider. Number one, this is a very transient part of the country. As we were discussing, as you mentioned earlier, you know, the roots are not really strong in Bessemer. It was a new distribution facility. People may not have necessarily had everybody's back. So the fact that there's just so much of that, you come as you go type situation. And then on top of that, the other big problem here in Florida, and this is obviously the biggest reason why I support the PRO Act, Florida is a right to work state. And when you basically are fire at will when it comes to employment, you don't have any real labor support.
No.
You don't have any real safety net of any kind.
None.
So having the PRO Act eliminate right to work and supersede the state level would have a tremendous impact
in Florida
on union organizing in Florida. Oh, it would change everything overnight. Like that's how big of a deal we would have. The last thing that I want to touch upon before we conclude for the evening, which obviously you probably don't have a specific date in mind, but is there a particular timeline, if you will, that you are targeting where you would look to take your shot?
Yeah, absolutely. We're aiming for July.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
And that's, if everything continues the way it is right now, which is positive, we should be able to file by July. And we know Amazon's going to push back and go back and forth with the NLRB. But the good thing about here in New York, once again, the NLRB has been super helpful with our efforts. They have been filing our ULPs. They have been.
For people who don't know, sorry, that's the National Labor Relations Board. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
The National Labor Relations Board, they've been super helpful. A lot of them are representing some of my organizers in their trials. A lot of people that file cases with the NLRB, they're organizing with me. And that's the beauty of it. We have a very good stronghold, even on the government side as well. It's been helpful. And when it comes to the filing, we should have no problems. And I'm hoping that if everything all goes well and we turn in the right direction, we'll be ready by July.
That's awesome.
Chris, you've really made an incredible impact. You are the type of person that we want to platform as early and as often as we can. I think it's immensely important what you are doing. I think that New York in general really needs to become ground zero for everything that is going on in terms of labor, in terms of healthcare. This is our time. I really feel it's just going to happen. It's just going to happen. And so we just have to be prepared for it. And if July is going to be, that month where a lot of this could happen, then we're going to do everything in our capacity to assist your efforts in order to do that. If we have an opportunity to come up, especially myself, again, my family is from New Jersey. I am obviously happy to assist in whatever capacity that I can, any local chapters that can help. For our local affiliate, one of the things that you can do, obviously with us, our channel, we do not take any type of salary. Every dollar that we raise, 100%.
I'm not sure if
goes
she's
to,
referring to us or to him.
no,
Like local here or local there.
how do you say M3G4?
4, 5. I can't. Whoever you are, you're very. The name is complicated.
Are you local? Yeah.
Mega Freak
is what it looks like. Are you local to?
See, that's an age thing. I'm way too.
No, I know that's what they were intending. I just wanted to be sure. Are you a local in New Jersey, New York, or Florida? So you got to preface that.
Mega Freak.
You got to let us know, because if you want to help us locally, that's great, and if you want to help Chris in his efforts in Staten Island, and let's be honest, Staten Island, that really needs help. Staten Island is a Republican stronghold. Very, very much. So, to say that they're not necessarily enthralled with the prospect of having a union effort in that part of the state or in that part of New York City would be an understatement. But that doesn't mean it's not coming.
We're hopeful. We're
like
very
you said,
hopeful.
$19 an hour. Yeah, on paper that looks good, but $19 an hour. Well, $19 an hour in Staten Island is the equivalent of maybe $11 an hour going up to the Adirondacks. It's completely different when you get outside of where you are. Living wage in New York, in the New York City area, is around $30 to $35 an hour.
That sounds right.
So it's significantly more than what they're getting right now, and they want to come up with this excuse that they're actually doing you guys a favor, but they're not. And so having the ability to collectively bargain, having the ability to have health care, time off, like you said, you don't even have universal child care. There's just a litany of different things that could be done to make your lives better. And if you are able to break through in Staten Island, I think we'll break through everywhere. It starts with one.
I'm so coming up there with my yellow vest.
It starts with, well, you know what? You're going to be halfway there pretty soon.
I know. Well, I'm definitely at some point going to have to get up there. But
Jen's Zen is found in Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
But
I'm a mountain girl stuck in a beach town.
But you're literally going to be halfway to New York City.
But you know what? We're always supportive. Always reach out. Like if there's something new, and we're always happy to forward information. Thank you so much for taking the time and coming on here,
Chris. It really means a lot to us that you did come on, and vice versa. We are here to help in any capacity we can. Keep spreading the word, guys. One more time, if you can check out the GoFundMe, they are only a few $100 away from their current goal. Obviously, that's going to change the bigger that this gets.
But you know what, guys? Pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on. It matters to all of us. So, Chris, thank you again, and we'll talk to you soon.
No, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. We will talk soon. Stay tuned.
My pleasure, my friend.
Bye.
Same to you, buddy. Have a good night.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.